Hello and a very warm welcome. Thank you, Shruti, for joining in. And I hope you reflected on yesterday's insight. Today, we are going to explore something very powerful and honestly, a little uncomfortable as well. Because today's insight says the only pain you truly suffer is the one you create yourself. Well, what do you think?
Yes, it is true.
Even we have discussed that yesterday as well, right?
Um,
Is it really the situation that hurts you, or is it your reaction to that situation? Because most of us believe that life is causing me pain, but today we will question that. Okay, so let me very quickly start sharing the screen. Good evening, good afternoon, Shiv. Thank you for joining in. Let me start
Good
sharing the
afternoon. Good
screen
afternoon.
and let's read this together. All right. Insight number 3, the philosophy of Stoicism, argues the idea that the only pain you really suffer is the one you create yourself. All pain stems from resistance to things that you can't imagine change. Negative events happen all the time for reasons beyond our control. We can, however, choose how we respond to them. Pain is simply the result of your resistance to everything you are powerless to change. We spend a lot of time thinking about the future and the past, but we can only live in the present and thus have no way of changing many things that make us unhappy. All the negativity is caused by an accumulation of psychological time and denial of the present. To fill the void, we develop a resistance to these things, which we perceive as psychological or physical pain. When we are angry or upset, we think and act more irrationally, which almost always results in worse situations. As a result, our reaction to things over which we have no control can perpetuate the pain cycle. So, this action that has been shared today for today is acknowledge your pain in resistance. We all replay events from our past in our minds. This causes us psychological pain because we resist what we can't change when we all can do what we when we all we can do is fix or move on. Recognize your pain and then move on. When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. That is so beautiful. Even yesterday we were discussing this, right? That event plus response is equal to outcome. It is as simple as that. Life gives you events. हमारा उसके बाद mind gives it meaning. Normally events जो होते हैं that are neutral, but our interpretation creates our experience. So pain is not basically coming from life, it is coming from the resistance to life. अगर एग्जाम्पल इसके बारे में सोचें तो if someone hurts you, you know, where if someone behaves with you in a way you don't like, that is an event. But your mind says he should not have talked to me like this. They should not have behaved like this. That should not is a resistance. And that resistance creates pain. Likewise, जब हम वो पढ़ रहे थे गौर गोपाल दास की बुक Life Amazing Secrets, there was an example of traffic jam, and reality is traffic jam is there. But our mind keeps on saying, why is this happening to me? This should not happen. Why is it so much chaos? Why are all the people stuck here? Because of them, I am also stuck. Now, is the traffic causing stress? Or you're thinking about the traffic causing you stress? Which means कि reality is not stressful. हमारी resistance to reality is stressful. We know, and we have discussed it yesterday as well, that life is not always in our control. People, situations, outcomes, they all are not in our control. But one thing is in our control, that is our response, our reaction, or whatever you call it. You can't always control what happens, but you can control how you respond to it, right? I would love for you to share with me what is your insight on this. Good afternoon, Samina. Thank you for joining in. And let's hear it from you. Shruti, do you want to share or add your experience to this conversation? No?
Yesterday, half of yesterday's insight practice, half of the thing it got uh, half half it was
Yesterday we
negative and
discussed that the
positive.
one arrow the world is throwing at us, and the other arrow we are throwing at ourselves by living in the past or the present. Yeah.
It was half of black and white.
Mm.
We need to respond instead of reacting, so we won't get angry. If one person is fine, other person, um, even if the other person is doing things, we can adjust. If one is correct in a relationship, if one is able to correct, other one can also improve. Like
It's more about perception,
person,
Shruti, how you perceive things, right? Let's hear it from Shiv. Thank you for sharing that, Shruti. Shiv, please unmute yourself and share.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes. Now I
Okay.
can hear you.
Okay. Sorry, I couldn't attend the last few days because I was traveling. But if you, I have not read this book, Karishma, but this is a very important and very interesting topic for me. So I thought I'll just join today and catch up with all of you. Um, so is this a particular chapter from the book, or if you can just bring me up to speed?
So this is a book that has insights from 23 other books.
Wow.
And the author is Shubham Kumar Singh.
Mm.
And he has given the insights from the 23 books that he has read. I think I have shared some reel around it as well, all the books that he has
Oh,
read.
okay.
And so these are all insights. So
Mm.
the first, there are 6 parts to this book. Around
Mm.
71 or 72 chapters are there. Insights
Mm-hmm.
are there. So
Mm-hmm.
part 1 that we are right now discussing about is happiness and mindfulness. And we
Got
are on insight number 3 that we were discussing
Okay.
today.
Okay. Thank you
Yeah.
for that share. So, see, the reason I joined this session today is because you know I really like the title. You
You
become
become
what
what
you
you
think
think.
about. Yeah. And I have read different books, which from where I have gathered
Hmm.
insight
Hmm.
about this concept. And one book which comes up to my mind in this context is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, right?
Hmm.
Actually, I can probably share with you that I used to be a very reactive person about
Hmm.
10, 15 years. I'm probably still not, very mindful, but I have improved over time.
Hmm.
And, I was searching for solutions. And that's how I stumbled upon Think and Grow Rich and
Hmm.
many other books which I read about mindfulness, about success. And
Hmm.
one thing that really stood out for me was that you're totally right in saying that, see, when we come across some experiences or somebody tells us something, we take it personally, and we also give it certain meaning,
Hmm.
because no experience or event or anything that happens to us has any absolute meaning. We give that meaning. So somebody shouts at us, we say, "Oh, this is bad," or "This person is bad," or "You should not have shouted." And mostly we give wrong meanings. We give negative meanings. We don't give positive meanings. And I think there starts the cycle of suffering,
Hmm.
because of course, when somebody says something offensive or negative, it hurts us. It pains us, especially if it is from a loved one or something. But whether to suffer because of that pain or not is our choice. Okay, and I used to burst out at people whenever somebody used to say something or whatever. But then I read a beautiful quote from Buddha, where he explains that some person, very abusive person, he came and uh, abused Buddha.
Hmm.
That you're this, you're that, you're
Hmm.
mad, and all these kind of things. And then Buddha asked just one question. He was smiling, so this guy was very frustrated to see him smile, although he was abusing him. And then he went back, and so he was trying his best to provoke him, but he was
Hmm.
not getting provoked. Buddha was not getting provoked. um, and so finally, feeling totally frustrated, this guy asked Buddha, "Why are you laughing? Why are you smiling? I'm
Hmm.
abusing you." He said, "Because it's my choice." And he asked whether he can ask a question to that guy who was abusing. He said,
Hmm.
"Okay, go ahead, ask." And then Buddha asked, "Okay, whatever you are telling me, whatever you are, throwing at me,
Hmm.
if this is a gift I'm not accepting, or not ready to accept, whom does it belong to?
Hmm.
Whom does it belong to?" And that was a very thought-provoking question, because that guy didn't know what to say. And when he reflected deeply, he said, if you don't accept it, if you don't, whatever I'm throwing at you, you're not ready to accept it or digest it or whatever, and if you call it a gift,
Hmm.
then that gift belongs to me.
This is exactly what was coming to my mind when you were talking about it, because I heard PK Shivani from
Mm.
also quote the same thing ki,
Yeah,
if somebody is giving you a gift and you do not accept it, where does the gift go? It goes back to the person himself. So why
yeah,
do you want to accept the gifts that you do not want to
yeah.
cherish?
And then when you are narrating the experience, when there's a traffic jam and we are stuck in a jam, and we are saying, "Ye aisa kyun hua, aisa kyun hua," and all kinds of negative self-talk that we engage in
Hmm.
mostly. I used to live in Delhi several years back, actually, about 20 years back.
Mm-hmm.
I used to do a small job there, and I used to get frustrated because I used to get stuck in traffic very bad, and
तब
Delhi
तो
traffic.
ट्रैफिक था ही नहीं.
नहीं नहीं तब भी था। दिल्ली का
इतना
ट्रैफिक तो
नहीं
हमेशा
था.
खराब
Come live now in
है।
Delhi.
No, now I don't go out of fear, and I don't drive at all in Delhi, definitely. So many times I used to feel frustrated, and I used to shout. Sometimes, I have even seen road rage where people have even killed each other. Like, because I used to drive from Delhi to Chandigarh, and highway पे road rage होता था
Hmm.
for simple reasons, like somebody overtook.
Hmm.
Okay, because they were very, I think, very short tempered people or whatever. तो एक बार ऐसा हुआ कि I was just thinking, okay, jam में बैठ के I was just cursing myself, and suddenly I thought occurred to my mind, because why should I curse myself? Why should I waste my time? I just put some audio book and I started listening. And as I started listening to it, I saw that my energy is shifting. because my attention is shifting.
Hmm.
Rather than putting all my attention on the chaos which is going on the jam, on the noise, on the horn, everything, I shifted
Hmm.
my attention to some knowledge I was gaining through the audiobook. And the moment I shifted my attention, my energy was changing. And then I
Hmm.
saw that no such negative thought is coming to my mind. I was just utilizing that time very, very productively. So I think mindful living is at the core of this entire.
Hmm.
And since you mentioned about stoicism, I think stoicism is all about how to not be affected by the outside environment,
Hmm.
because we hardly have any control of what's going on outside
Hmm.
of us in
Hmm.
most cases. But we do have control over what is going inside of us.
Yes.
And so I think that it is very important that we focus on what is going inside of us so that we can make ourselves peaceful and
Hmm.
productive even when there is chaos outside.
Wow, beautiful insight. Thank you. Thank you, Shiv, for sharing that.
So,
And yes, I remember in that book, Life's Amazing Secrets, Mr. Iyer and Gaur Gopal Das is, they are discussing something. And
who
as
are the
soon
two
as
authors? Who are the two authors? Sorry.
Mr. Iyer is a name given to some character,
Oh,
and it is
oh,
Gaur Gopal Das.
okay.
And he had visited him, and Gaur Gopal Das has written a journey of that through a
Hmm.
book. Uh, and we read it in one of these, in last year only.
Hmm.
So there he was sharing, and both of them were talking about some uncomfortable talk about how Mr.
Hmm.
Iyer is not having very good relationship with his wife and all of that.
Hmm.
And the moment traffic started moving, people were like, "Oh God, now we will have lesser time to talk." And it was like, "Oh yes, that is how you shift your energy." You know,
Hmm.
shift to listening to some audiobook, or maybe use some podcast or anything. If you are a avid reader, so you can maybe read as well. But
Hmm.
अगर आप अपनी वो एनर्जी उस टाइम पे किसी और चीज में इन्वेस्ट कर दोगे तो इट इज लाइक ऑल वेस्टेड.
Yeah. Yeah. So are we going through this chapter 5 or 6, or which is the chapter we are going through today?
This is insight number 3.
Oh, inside 3. Okay.
Mm.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. And like
S-
just one thing I have also noticed that, when we go through all these kind of negative experiences, we do a lot of overthinking, negative
mm,
self-talk, we get emotionally overwhelmed.
mm,
And instead of suppressing their thoughts, I think the idea should be to observe and reframe them. Like,
yes.
you know, because our mind is actually like a garden, but we turn
Mm.
it into an enemy.
So the
But
problem
what
is
happened is,
in that garden, we are noticing all the weeds and we are not
hmm,
noticing the plants just few
yes,
inches above, right?
yes, exactly, exactly. So the mind is not our enemy actually,
Mm.
but an untrained mind is definitely our enemy. So we have to just train our mind so that it is always a garden and there is no weeds coming.
So weeds are going to come. It's not that the weeds are not going to come, but then
Hmm.
having a choice whether you are focusing on the weeds or you are
Yes,
focusing on the
yes,
fragrance of the flower and the beauty of the
yes, yes,
flowers while
yes,
plucking the
yes,
weeds
yes.
is something that
True,
would be so
true.
much more powerful.
Like when you said it very nicely, like when we give a rose flower to somebody, nobody looks at the thorns of the rose, right? People look at the scent, the beauty, the color, everything that is nice. We don't look
Hmm.
at the thorns and say, oh, it's me
The कांटा
kaate hain. So
है.
similarly, yeah.
Um, Also, there was this thing that I skipped on my thought actually. चलो कोई बात नहीं. If it comes, I'll come back on that. Samina, do you want to share anything on this?
I have not understood, I know what you're speaking about,
Mhm.
but exact question and what you're trying to ask me. So as I listen and as you can, I'll answer. I'm in the midst of something and I'll come back. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, no worries. So there was no question, just by the way. We were just discussing what we have just read, and we were discussing about how, yeah, so the thought came back. What I was saying, when you said reframe shift, so
Yeah.
that is what exactly we do, right? Whatever story we are telling to ourselves about an event, we have
Mm.
to sit with it and we have to just change the story that we are telling
Yes.
ourselves. And the moment we change that story, everything becomes good. I'll give you a very beautiful example, that is that I got married really early. And for a very long period of time, almost 18, 19 years of my life, I've kept on crying and cribbing and, you know, telling my husband, because I got married, I could not do anything in my life. Because I got married. And when I got to understand this concept, because that is when I started off on this journey of, self development. So I
Mm.
realized that, okay, this is the one story that I have talked about a lot. Let me sit with it and let me change this story now. And
Mm.
I sat with it. I shifted it to, oh my God, it is such a blessing that I got married early. Now in my 40s, I can again find myself in the age when people have midlife crisis and all of that, and they spend 4, 5, 6, 7 years trying to find themselves कि अब क्या करूं, अब क्या करूं. I'm already young enough to, look into it and get somewhere. And that is such
Absolutely.
a beautiful phase. And because
Absolutely.
kids are also young, they are busy with their own selves, and it is such a nice time. Why not, before they actually fly off the nest, I'm already into something which will not make me feel the vacuum.
Absolutely.
And this story actually phenomenally shifted my, and I was like, I become so grateful to Almighty. Oh God, I'm so grateful that
Mm.
I got married early. Otherwise, अगर उस time पे मैंने कुछ किया होता, I don't know whether I would be doing something meaningful to myself or not, for myself or not.
Yeah. I just wanted to reflect on something when you said this, that I also struggled personally a lot in my marriage. And I'm also married for more than almost 19 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Now, but I used to think, why did I get married to this person? She she tells so many negative things, and because we used to fight a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I reframed everything and started thinking in a different way, from a different angle, then I observed that, she's not some pain.
Mm-hmm.
She's actually a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because if she had not given me all that pain, I would not have shifted my attention and tried to gain insights from so many books and so many other resources. I would have lived an average life. I would have
Yes.
had a happy marriage.
मतलब
I'm
normal
still
ऐसे.
happy.
So it is said na कि the straight line is never good. You're dead
Ah,
when the line is straight. When it
ah,
goes up and down, that is when you actually enjoy the ride.
yes, yes.
So it is all a blessing. It is all a blessing. And I still remember literally used to sit and write gratitudes to my husband. I used to do
Mm,
affirmations that he's such a supportive husband, because he was the one who was the first restriction and resistance to me, because he never wanted me to do anything. He just wanted
mm,
me to be a homemaker. And when I
mm,
did that, I saw the shift in me as well as in my husband, who is now
mm,
asking me, आज कौन कौन से session है, कितने कितने बजे है, अच्छा, what time are you free? Are you free on the weekends? Can we go out? And I'm like, aha,
mm,
this is nice. I love that.
mm,
He's the one who's getting me tea. तेरा session है, you might want to have tea. Please have some tea. So
mm.
that is the shift that happens when you shift from inside,
Correct.
because whatever outside is happening is the mirror from what is inside you.
Absolutely. It's our inner reflection.
Yes.
Sure. Thanks.
Well, that was great. That is why I want people to join the book reading club. That's so that we can have good discussion, right?
Yeah.
Uh, you can't always control what happens, but yes, we have a choice. We can control how we respond. Uh, एक और बड़ा simple सा, while we are talking on this, there is an example that is hitting my head. That is, imagine you are in a river. ठीक है? If you flow with the river, you move so easily. But if you fight the current, you struggle. And this life is like that river. Suffering begins when you start fighting that flow. Yesterday in the evening session also, we were discussing about, this kind of a concept wherein we were discussing that the moment we start resisting things, it becomes difficult for our own sake, our own selves. So, and I usually give this example कि जब हम कार में travel कर रहे होते हैं, तो if we keep on looking at the same car from from here till we cannot see it anymore, it gives us bad headache. And if we just sit, relax, and keep watching the cars move and move and move, it does not even, give us any pain. And while we are meditating, if we hold on to our thoughts, it is going to give us suffering. And if we just be the observer and let them pass as they go, because when you are going to meditate, all the things that are, on the surface are also going to come up. You're going to see all of that again. And now what you do with it is your choice. You let go of it or you cling on to it. Yeah. So we need to think that what are we resisting right now? And we need to also reflect, can I change this right now? Because only a shift in the story, even a little bit of it, is going to shift a lot in our lives. Then suffering, that whatever you're suffering is coming from resistance. Just drop that resistance, you will drop the suffering. Yeah. That's it. That was it for today. I hope that was a meaningful conversation. And I'm looking forward to have you tomorrow as well. We shall meet. And tomorrow we'll be reading Insight number 4. Feel free to be a part of this session and give your insights, and we can, discuss it further as well. Till then, take good care of yourself. God bless each one of you. Lots and lots and lots of love. And bye-bye. Have a nice day.
Thanks, Karishma. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.